The Philippines is an archipelago in the Pacific Ocean made up of over 7,000 islands. Situated along a subduction zone in the Ring of Fire, it lies within a highly active geologic belt responsible for much of the seismic activity that stretches from Japan to Alaska and California. This location has made the islands rich in minerals, but it also subjects the region to frequent earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. Of the thousands of islands, only about 1,000 are inhabited, and many of these are small, around 1 square mile in size. The archipelago is divided into 3 main island groups: Luzon in the north, the Visayas in the center, and Mindanao in the south. Luzon, the largest island, is also the most populated and is home to the capital city, Manila. Evidence of modern humans in the Philippines dates back approximately 47,000 years, but the islands were occupied much earlier by other hominids. Homo luzonensis, discovered near Luzon, lived around 134,000 years ago, and Homo erectus may have been present as far back as 700,000 years ago. By roughly 3000 BCE, Austronesian-speaking peoples had settled in the Philippines. These migrants came from Taiwan, nearby islands, and the Asian mainland. Austronesians formed a vast cultural and linguistic group that stretched from Southeast Asia to Madagascar. Their languages gave rise to many spoken today in the region, including Tagalog, Malay, and Indonesian. Early settlements tended to form along rivers and were often geographically isolated. As a result, they did not develop a centralized political structure. Communities were maintained through intermarriage and kinship ties. Trade, however, flourished both among the islands and with the mainland, as evidenced by Philippine jade artifacts and metalwork using techniques from India. These traveled along a major trade network known as the Maritime Jade Road, which lasted for about 3,000 years. The later part of this prehistoric era seems to have been marked by relative peace, supported by both trade continuity and a lack of archaeological evidence of violent deaths. However, this may reflect limited findings rather than a complete picture. Written history in the Philippines begins around the year 900, with the Laguna copperplate inscription, a legal document that records the forgiveness of a debt. By this time, people had begun organizing into small sociopolitical communities, known as barangays. These units could range in size from a few dozen people to several hundred. Sometimes, multiple barangays would form alliances under a paramount leader chosen from among local rulers, called datus. In areas with stronger Indian cultural ties, leaders were called rajas, and in regions that later adopted Islam, they were known as sultans. Philippine society at the time was hierarchical. The Majanu class held power, followed by the freemen or maharlika, and finally the alipin, or enslaved people. Each class had various subcategories to define specific roles and statuses. Religion in pre-colonial times was predominantly polytheistic animism. People believed that all things, plants, animals, rivers, and even rocks, had spirits that needed to be appeased. Ancestor worship was also common, and it was believed that ancestors could take on animal forms. Magic and witchcraft were part of daily life, with practitioners being both revered and feared. Buddhism and Hinduism reached the Philippines prior to the 9th century. Records and archaeological finds show that some communities paid tribute to the powerful Srivijaya Empire, a Buddhist maritime state based in what is now Indonesia. Srivijaya was later succeeded in influence by the Majapahit Empire, a Hindu-Buddhist state centered in Java. Both had a lasting cultural impact on the islands, facilitated by linguistic connections